So here I am 40 years later since I started Silverlining in 1985. Who could have ever imagined that the business would be like it is today? I think my journey into furniture making was a case of nurture and nature. You know, from a young boy, I used to go and visit my father's business, the brewing business, and actually used to go to the joinery shop, and in those days they used to make bar tops out of solid Cuban mahogany and French polish them. So I think that's something that really stayed with me all my life, and as a young boy and as a teenager I was always making pieces of furniture. And also with my mother, I always used to go and see lots of antique fairs, and also went to see all the sort of past masters of furniture making like Chippendale and Sheraton and Hepplewhite by going to Chatsworth and Harwood House. And so I actually then applied to about 8 colleges in those days. There were sort of 8 colleges where you could study fine furniture making. And I was fortunate to get a place at all of them, but I decided at the end to go and train with the famous furniture maker John Makepeace up down in Parnham House in Bedminster. I was very fortunate to get a place at John Makepeace's school, and actually remember cutting 17 sets of dovetails before I went to the interview to try and maximise my chances of getting that place. And I remember receiving a crisp white sort of envelope came through, and it was quite thick, the envelope, and I opened the letter and they'd offered me a place at Parnham, and it was sort of one of those moments in my life, almost like having children and getting married, where the hair stands up on the back of your neck. So anyway, I spent a glorious 2 years down at Bedminster in Dorset. I was brought up in the country, and Dorset is a beautiful county, and I think I was very privileged. It's almost like being a monk. There were only 10 students each year. There were 20 of us in total, you know, working in this incredible Jacobean house and being alongside John Makepeace's workshops. After 2 years, I then graduated, and the school used to have their graduation exhibition at the Royal Show at Stoneleigh, which used to be the biggest agricultural show in the UK. And I think because the school had been doing it there for about 8 years, it's sort of the exhibition area built up a sort of stand for collectors to actually come and see the students' work. And I think I was very fortunate that I actually had the first exhibition space. There were 10 students. I was first in the marquee on the left. And I remember my father, who was in the brewing trade, saying, you know, position in terms of a pub. And I think that really helped me, because I was the first person on the left, and inevitably I had the opportunity to talk to potential clients first. We were there for 4 days, but I was very fortunate that actually in that 4 days I secured orders of about £36,000, which was, you know, 42 years ago. So I imagine that's probably worth about £120,000 these days. And that was sort of an order book that kept me busy for about 18 months. After I graduated, I decided to return back home to Cheshire, where my family are from. So I was looking for premises, and I didn't want to work in a sort of industrial premises. So I actually wrote to all the sort of landed estates in Cheshire and asked if they had any you know, old farm buildings or things we could use as workshops. And I was fortunate, and I think it's one of those sort of lucky breaks, that our first landlord was the Grosvenor family. And we had an amazing 12 years as tenants on their estate. Our first workshops, I remember, was about 1,250 square feet. We now have 44,000 square feet. And I remember spending the first 3 days literally converting these, they were cow shippings, into workshops, putting floors and ceilings. And I remember even on the walls, the cow shippings had all the old stalls for the cattle, and even had the names of the cows like Daisy, etc., in chalk on the wall. But you know, that was how we started, and you know, a great way to start our business. Many people ask me why the business was called Silverlining Furniture, and I think there was many reasons. First of it was when between leaving school and going to Parnham, I actually did a silversmithing course, and I was interested in sort of inlaying metals into furniture, but also I didn't like the idea of 2 thin layers of veneer on the edge of a table and the side of a table. You know, I thought that was particularly precarious, so I decided to inlay the edges of tables with silver inlays. So that was one reason the name came about. So another reason that I called the business Silverlining was that I wanted to find a way of naming our furniture that wasn't with the signature or have my name, because I wanted to build a business and a team. So actually what I came up was the logo of having the 4 hallmarks like you see on precious metals. The 4 hallmarks are made up of what we know known as the sponsor's mark, which was Silverlining Workshops as the business was known then, which is the top mark, and then the lion passant, which is to say that the metal is silver, and then the 3rd mark is the leopard's head, which means it's been assayed or tested and stamped in London, and then the P is 1985, which is the year I started Silverlining, and that letter date changes every year, so actually people can look back and see when the furniture was made from the date letter. So the early couple of years were actually quite easy, because I got these orders from the Royal Show and had orders for about 18 months. But unfortunately, after about 8 months, or actually fortunately, I was involved in a car accident and broke my femur, and was off work for 13 weeks, and actually that gave me a time to reflect that actually maybe we needed to put a brochure together or need to start doing some marketing, because where was the future work going to come from when we ran out of these 18 months orders. And I had what's known as a K-nail put into my thigh bone, which was to make sure that the break could be mended, and it was left in my leg for about 2.5 years. So I suddenly thought, well, if it's strong enough for my leg, why isn't it strong enough for furniture? So I actually then designed a whole series of pieces of furniture that had very slim legs, using metal bar within the legs, and I did a whole series of those. We started working for other leading families in the world, and we're finding our work was actually going to America and San Francisco and New York in particular. So maybe I thought, and I talked to a friend of mine, he said, well, why don't you go to the States? They love the English, they love English craftsmanship, and maybe it'd be a very good market for you, they speak English. So in the early 90s, with a friend of mine, we went to New York, and it was quite funny because he was very successful in advertising. He actually helped us do this original brochure. And he said, look, I'll come with you, I'll show you around New York, and we'll have a bit of fun and see if we can generate some business. And then I think about the 3rd trip I went to America, I had one of those, what I refer to as lucky breaks. I was actually on a plane and traveling in economy, and you get chatting on the plane. And I got talking to this gentleman, and he seemed quite interested in what I did. He didn't say anything about himself. Anyway, when I got to Los Angeles, he said, do you have a business card, Mark? So I gave him a business card. Anyway, he phoned me up about 18 months later, and it turned out it was Kevin Costner's architect. And through that, we then started working for a lot of celebrities like David and Mom Bowie, Tom Ford, Madonna. And we worked on a lot of projects in Hollywood and the surrounding area of Los Angeles. So, America became quite a large market for us, and I decided that maybe it would be sort of useful in America to have some pieces that actually people could see. So actually, we developed a collection of furniture called the Wishbone Collection, and we made some pieces on sale or return, and we put them in a gallery in, I think, Chicago in the Mercantile Mart, in Los Angeles in the Pacific Design Center, and also in the Design and Decoration building in New York. And we were represented by 3 of these galleries, and I used to go and visit the US 3 or 4 times a year. Anyway, the Los Angeles gallery is particularly successful in representing us, and we got quite a large order for a client in Japan, and it included 172 chairs, 32 tables of the same design. And I think at that time we only had 5 or 6 in the team, and the commission was so large and our workshop was so small, we used to store all the chairs up in the hayloft above the workshop, and I've got some great images of us literally handing all these chairs down when we came to pack them to ship them to Japan. And then in the sort of mid-90s, we actually got our first yacht commission, which I think was in 1995, and it came about because someone we'd met through earlier commissions moved to a leading yacht designer, and he phoned me up saying, Mark, look, we need this furniture making quite quickly. We know you're very reliable from previous projects. Could you help us out? And it was quite interesting to move in the world of yachts, which is now probably 45% of our business. And also through the yacht world, in the sort of, I think it was about 1999, we decided to show at the Monaco Yacht Show. And actually this year, it'll be our 26th year at the show. And we've always used the show in Monaco to sort of, as a showcase of to really demonstrate how the business is pushing boundaries of creativity and craftsmanship. So in the sort of early 2000s, or the noughties, everyone would prefer them to, I'd really sort of picked up from clients the value in creativity and craftsmanship, and sort of, you know, pushing the boundaries of what 21st century craftsmanship could be. So we actually started a project of publishing a whole series of books. The first book we did was called Silverlining, the Art of Furniture, and that book was really to sort of get across to our audience and collectors of how we could push cabinet making to almost PhD level. And then in 2011 we did our own project, which was called Future Perfect, a manifesto for 21st century craftsmanship. And this was an exhibition we did in London in St James's, where we exhibited 3 pieces of furniture, and it was all about really pushing furniture making to the limits, and how we could use technology and traditional hand skills to develop pieces of furniture was sort of mind-boggling, where people would question how on earth you had achieved it or made it. And one of the particular items was a table called the Infinity Table. We made actually an edition of 8, which made 7, all in different colours, and that was really pushing the boundaries of what furniture making was, you know, known at those times. And through doing the Future Perfect exhibition, we then invested in having a dedicated design team. We built up a design team. We've now got 5 designers, and we also built up an R&D team. We started to really invest heavily in how can we push boundaries of techniques. I mean, for example, this is straw in bioresin that we're developing at the moment, and we also tried to integrate technology. And obviously the great thing with today, you've got 3D printers, so you can envisage what designs are like or use them to develop techniques. But we've always, you know, and every year now we develop new techniques, and we launch these techniques at the Monaco Boat Show each year, but we're always trying to push the boundaries of what craftsmanship can be today. I think one project that really epitomises what Silverlining furniture is a project we did for a motor yacht called Artifact. And we made some incredible pieces for this yacht, and the client was particularly interested in the universe and planets, and we made this incredible dining table which had a huge cantilever. The table was about 4.9 meters long, and we had to use today's material science to really support the table. So the underside of the table is actually Kevlar, aluminium and carbon fibre, and then the top is a honeycomb structure like you'd find in aircraft wings. I think again, you know, this project really gave us confidence to take the design of furniture and structure of furniture and how we made it and the finishes to a new level. What's really interesting over the last 40 years is how the team has evolved. I mean, obviously we started as a very small business. Now we've got 64 people in the team, and one of the things that I really take great pride in is actually having people that in whatever department are far better than I ever was at any of these things, be it marketing, be it design, be it 3D printing. And I think that's what's really built Silverlining. It's the team of people past and present and future that have allowed us to develop an incredible business in the UK. So one of the things that I've always been really proud of is training young people over the years, and we must have had over 200 craftspeople through the workshops in 4 decades, and believe it or not, the average age of people on the shop floor is actually 31, which we're very, very proud of, and for me that's part of the legacy going forward. And one of the initiatives we've started in the last few years is how we can use waste materials to actually use in training exercises, and we developed a whole series of gifts, starting with leather, for example, things like this trinket tray, which is actually using leather moulding and painting techniques and stitching techniques. And this has been a very successful initiative to actually push boundaries of training craftsmanship, but also in a meaningful way. So this year, 2025, is a really exciting year. It'll be 40 years since I started the business in September, and we've got a whole series of really interesting events and initiatives that will actually allow us to celebrate 40 years. This year's Monaco show, which will be our 26th, we're actually showing a new collection of creativity and craftsmanship called In Focus, and this collection really explores new directions in material technique and design. We signal a new chapter for the business where we'll be launching our new edition furniture, which is called Layers in Time. The collection is made of 7 pieces. Some are leather, some are wood, some are resin, and they're all designed, engineered and made entirely here in our workshops in North Wales studio. It's really looking at exploration at ourselves, and the collection marks the beginning of an annual series of limited editions. And then at the start of next year, in January 2026, we're launching a new book, and that book is named after probably the most common question that I've been asked over the last 40 years, and that's, can it be done? So that's the name of the new book. It's a question our clients ask when they come to us with bold visions and uncompromising expectations. And it's also a question that our designers here and makers ask ourselves when we're exploring new materials, testing limits and trying to turn the improbable into the exceptional. The book is 280 pages, it spans 4 decades of projects, partnerships, and captures our belief in craftsmanship, experimentation and trust that's forged a legacy in innovation. And one of the things I plan to do is actually go and revisit some of my earliest clients and actually present them a book in person. So actually next year, I'm really looking forward to it. I'll be doing a sort of world tour of going to America, the Far East, the Middle East, to actually thank those original pioneers that had a belief in Silverlining in those early days and helped me with some incredible people build what a great business we have today. So, over 40 years, I've been so fortunate to work with some of the world's best architects, yacht designers, and, collaborate with clients as collectors, and, which pieces of furniture can be enjoyed, not for this generation, but its future generations. So, who knows where Silverlining is going to go. It's going to be an interesting journey, but it's not finished yet.